Nitai Gaur Nataraj, Nitai Gaur Nataraj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Haribo. Come on in. You're invited. Thank you. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. There's a TV screen over here. If you sit over there, unless you have a set of mirrors, you won't be able to see it. Sucah. This is from Bhagavad Gita, 1866. Everybody knows the verse, right? Let's say it together. Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashyami ma sucah. He likes the leaning back against the couch position. Okay. Sucah. What does Sucah mean? Sucah. Do not fear. Do not fear. What's there to be afraid of? There's a similar phrase that Krishna speaks in Srimad Bhagavatam. The phrase that he speaks in Srimad Bhagavatam is Ma Bhaishta. And Krishna speaks this to the messenger to carry, coming from the 20,000 kings that Jarasandha had captured and put in prison, and was planning to make a human sacrifice to Mahabhairava to get some nice punya points to use in his Duskriti program. And they sent a messenger to Krishna in Dwaraka to please do something. Get there, we're your devotee. Part of the reason they were in prison, there are two big reasons. Jarasandha, while Yudhisthira was on a conquest or he was planning to do Rajasuya Yagya, which meant that he would establish himself as emperor. And for that to happen, all the kings in the world would have to either submit, I'm a king, but I'm very happy to accept Maharaj Yudhisthira as the emperor above my kingdom, and pay some tribute. so he can perform the Rajasuya Yajna. Or if they said no, then they would have some combat. So this hasn't happened yet, but the four brothers were going to be sent by Yudhisthira in the four directions, and either or. While he was doing, Jarasandha was doing the same. Jarasandha had waged a campaign to become the emperor. And 20,000 kings who were Krishna devotees refused. And so instead of defeating them in combat, he decided even better than defeating them in combat, because he's so powerful. It's confirmed by Uddhava. He can't be defeated by anybody but Bhima. He's so powerful. 10,000 elephants. He's just powerful. Powerful. So rather than defeating, he imprisoned them with the idea of making a human sacrifice to Lord Shiva and getting some Lord Shiva points for the human sacrifice and get more power. So that was his plan. And so the messengers sent a messenger, please save us. Hearing everything that the messenger said, that something else happened in between. Narada came saying, Yudhisthira is requesting your presence in Indraprastha to be present and bless the Rajasuya Yajna. So Krishna turned to Uddhava. Not that Krishna was perplexed, but what should be done? This or that? It was all Krishna's orchestration in any case. And Uddhava made the plan, everyone approved the plan. So then Krishna spoke to the messenger saying, Ma Bhaishta. That's all he said. Please inform the kings, Ma Bhaishta. Meaning, I'll take care of Yudhisthira. I'll take care of Jarasandha. So the messenger went back with the message to the king. Krishna is going to take care of Jarasandha and you'll become freed. So, consistent. Now, with Bhagavad Gita and the Sucah, this is connected to the verse, the important verse where Krishna is speaking about taking shelter. And we can take shelter of him if we take shelter in his words, because his words are truth, and he will maintain and support them. Ma Sucah, or Ma Bhaishta. This verse, 1866, is in chapter 18. So far we've covered 7 verses, 7 through 13. This is the final chapter, and what I was told, this visit is being called, it's Ma Sucah visit. Baladev Vijayabhusan and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur are 2 principal commentators that Srila Prabhupada drew from, others also. But Baladev Vijayabhusan identifies the Sanskrit title of Moksha Yoga. Moksha Yoga. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur calls it Prapati Yoga. Prapati is another word for surrender, as Mam Ekam Sharanam, as Sharana is a word for surrender. Prapati is, there's a distinction, but it's the same essential meaning. Surrender, the final attainment. That's the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. Now this chapter and this particular section of verses from the conclusion of Krishna speaking is very much appreciated not only in our Gaudiya tradition, but in all traditions. And this isn't the time to give a class on the following topic, but many Sri Vaishnava Acharyas consider Ramayana to be a treatise on that very teaching, the teaching of surrender, or Sharanagati. Here's something that's drawn from their teachings. In Ramayana, the glory of service to Ram and his associates is narrated. The Sambandha, so the three, Sambandha of the living entities with Ram, is that they are eternal servants. And the other end, the Prayojana, is devotional service to Lord Ram. And the Abhideya, this is the Sharanagati, the means of acting on the Sambandha and attaining the service. So the goal is service. The means of attaining the goal is Sharanagati, and it's all resting upon there's an eternal relationship with Krishna. Now a little bit more on the Sharanagati topic. The Vedas give us this understanding. There's 6 angas or limbs of Sharanagati. They're well known. You want to say them with me? Let's say them together. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyati vishvaso goptritve varanam tata atma nikshepa karpanye shadvidha sharanagati. So there's the translation, the meaning of each of these 6 terms. These are the Shadvidha or Shadangas, the 6 divisions of surrender. We know them. Accepting things favorable for bhakti, rejecting things unfavorable for bhakti. Raksha, the conviction that Krishna will give me protection. And Goptritve, you lost your favorite spot. You can stand, that's okay. Goptritve. Goptritve is Krishna is my guardian, he's my protector. He's my master, he's my guardian and protector. Atma Nikshepa, full surrender, and Karpanye, humility. These are the 6 limbs or 6 divisions of Sharanagati. And the process of practicing devotional service, it gives rise to perfection. That's sadhana, practice. Leads to the perfection, bhava and prema. Dependence on the mercy of the Supreme Lord is also an anga. So there's these 2 things, what we do in the effort and mercy. Something that we must do, something that Krishna will do. When Krishna sees our sincere efforts, he's more than enthusiastic to reciprocate and give us mercy. So from our side, be dependent upon mercy, even while endeavoring. So that's a little background. We're going to be discussing 3 verses, those verses that lead up to 66 are 64 and 65. So from commentary of our Acharyas, this is a Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur description. These 3 verses are the most confidential knowledge of all, because already the 9th chapter was most confidential, but now it's most confidential of all. Become a pure devotee of Krishna. This is his explanation. We gave a similar explanation. He's got a very unique one. These 3 groups of 6 chapters, it's the first 3, the middle 3, and the final 3, makes 18 chapters. The crown is the Bhagavad Gita, the crown jewel of all knowledge. These 3 groups of 6 are the box containing the most valuable secret treasure of bhakti. It's a metaphor, but it's a very nice metaphor. The first 6 chapters concerning karma are the lower part of the box made of gold. The last 6 chapters concerning Gyan are the lid made of gold and studded with jewels. The middle 6 chapters rest within the container and the lid and shines with the most excellent jewel of bhakti, more valuable than anything else in the 3 worlds, since it brings Sri Krishna under control. And the 2 verses, 65 and 66, of the 64 syllables or jewels embedded on the lid of the box, that's the last 6 chapters, should be understood to be bhakti's pure servants. Metaphor, as poetry, but that's nice. So he continues, glancing, this is the question leading to the statements of 64, 65, and 66. Glancing at Arjuna, his very dear friend, Krishna, standing silently as he began to review the very deep meaning of the Gita scripture, the Lord, his heart melting like butter due to his mercy, spoke. Oh, my dear friend Arjuna, I will now speak the essence of the whole scripture in 8 verses. Forget about the difficulties in having to review everything in order to understand it. We discussed this a little bit yesterday. Chapter 13 is a little complex. And if you have difficulty understanding it, just understand these verses and you're in good shape. So here's 64, where, let's say the verse together. Sarva goyatamam bhoya shanu me paramam vachaha ishtosi me dridham iti tato vakshami te hitam. There's that word vakshami again. Some of you that have been with us, you know that should ring some bells. It's through sound that which is of transcendence can be understood, conveyed, received, and understood. Translation: because you are my very dear friend, I'm speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Now guess what? The most confidential knowledge of all has already been spoken in chapter 9. And there's a concluding verse to chapter 9, which is repeated right after this. 865 comes after 866. It's the very same verse. It's significant. It comes at the end of the middle 6 chapters. Chapter 9, right in the middle. Chapter 9 is in the middle of 18 and at the end of 18. There's only one verse that's like that. Same words. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. And our Acharyas comment, this is meant for those that have no material motives. The Sanskrit word is nirapeksha. Nirapeksha bhakti or nirapeksha bhakta. No material motives. So the material motives have been addressed ahead of this chapter in different ways. And there's procedures in the Vedas for those that have material motives, and they're not excluded from the Vedic process. But at the topmost rung of the yoga ladder is this bhakti process, and one who has crossed those lower stages to this upper stage, that's what this instruction is for. And we all know the verse. Let's say it together. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskaro mam evaishyasi satyam te pratijane prayosime. Very simple, 4 things. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. Mam evaishyasi. Satyam te, I promise you this. Pratijane, because you are my very dear friend, Priyosime. Our acharyas go to at length to take the definition of the satyam. Several acharyas will hear coming up. But the Amarakosh dictionary says this word satyam means oath. I'm taking a vow. I promise. He's promising his devotee, which means he's not going to break his promise, as he said to the 20,000 kings. Now, when he gave that promise to the 20,000 kings, he had a plan. I'll share that plan with you. The plan was he wanted the kings to become free from material hankering. He wanted the kings to become free from regaining their kingdom and regaining all that wealth and power and all that stuff, because that's what normally would happen after they were released from Jarasanda's prison. They got to the place where they didn't even want liberation. They just wanted one thing. They wanted constant remembrance of the personality of Godhead. That was their one appeal to him after they got out of the prison. So the do not fear didn't happen immediately, although Krishna had the power to make it happen immediately, but he had an additional plan to let their hearts become, because they heard his word, they had faith in his word, and they're meditating on Krishna is going to come. Krishna is going to come. Now Rukmini also had, but she didn't have several months. She just had 24 hours. But Krishna is going to come. Krishna is going to come. And then she was, maybe Krishna isn't going to come. Maybe the messenger didn't get through. Maybe Krishna sees some flaw in me. Maybe he won't come. But, it's just a Krishna consciousness, Krishna absorption. From that Krishna absorption, the kings were then ready for Krishna to make the arrangement for Jarasandha to be killed, and they were freed. And then they didn't want what they had sent the messenger to ask for. You follow? I'll say it again. The message carried by the messenger is, please do something. Please get us out of this horrible situation. They said something else. It was polite, but why is such a bad person able to be such a big enjoyer, and we're your devotee, we're in prison? They didn't do like that, but that's kind of the indication. So it was a business deal. And they were at the center. And Krishna's supposed to be their order supplier. Anyway, they became freed from that. That was part of Krishna's Mahabhayishta. Because he knew they were his devotees, he didn't come immediately. He stayed for several months in Indraprastha. We're going to hear some more about this over the coming weekend. But he kept his word. He kept his word. They were released. So now this is some detail. Both Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladev have a lot to say about this verse and a lot to say about the next one too. So this is just a cut and paste of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. By the word for word he's going through, or phrase by phrase. The phrase Mam Mana Man Mana Bhavamadbhakto means being my devotee only, think of me. The Lord says this to exclude the other possibilities. He does not mean be a jnani or be a yogi and meditate on me. It's clear. An alternative meaning, the phrase might mean be situated with your mind completely absorbed in me, Shamsundar, with moon-like face, with shining locks of hair and beautiful eyebrows, raining nectar in the form of glances of sweet mercy. That's Vishwanath is a Rasika Bhakta, so he often expresses things like this. Mad manmana bhava. And then the next phrase, bhava madbhaktaha, can mean and give all your senses, such as the ears, to me. Adore me, using all the senses with such services as hearing, chanting, seeing my murti, cleaning and anointing my temple, picking flowers and offering me garlands, ornaments, umbrella, and chamara. So manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji. And then the Lord says, give me objects such as gandha, flowers, incense, lamp, and naivedya. Be my worshipper. Perform my worship. Madhyaji. And we'll know what the next one is. Mam namaskuru. Just give me respects. Falling on the ground with the whole body, offer respects by touching the body to the ground with 8 limbs. Of these 4, thinking of me with the mind, serving me with the senses, worshipping with items, and offering respect to me with the whole body, do all of them. Or any of them, and you will attain me. Mam eva ashyasi. Make an offering of your mind, your senses, or items of worship unto me. I will respond and give myself to you. I make this oath to you. Te satyam. Again, Amar Kosh says it means an oath or truth. Then there's a doubt. Well, the people born in the land of Mathura make such oaths in every sentence. That is true. In that case, under oath, I declare you are dear to me. No one cheats a person dear to himself. Vishwanath. Krishna said, you will come to me. Another way of saying this is, I will give myself to you. So he's unpacking this important verse, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto, in some detail. That's Vishwanath, and Baladev Vijayabhusan's commentary is a little shorter. Now the Lord gives the instruction. This has been explained before, the last verse of chapter 9. By concentrating your mind on me, manmana, worshipping me, and offering respects to me, you will attain only me, Krishna, with human form, the son of Devaki, most affectionate to you. You will attain me with dark complexion, the color of the blue lotus, not the universal form with 1,000 heads, nor not the form of Paramatma, the size of a thumb, not Nrsinga and not Varaha. Being your friend, I will give myself to you. I make this oath. I will give myself to you. I make this oath. The Natartha Varga says, Satyam Shapata Tatayo. Satya means an oath. So it's another reference source giving a nice definition, same definition. Oath or truth. You should have no doubt about this. So there's a doubt. My doubt is not destroyed because even when you made a vow, you did not return from Mathura to Vraja. Right? He said. Well, the fact of the matter is he did. You know that, right? Did anybody here not know that Krishna returned to Vrindavan? But there's different reasons. One of those reasons is just on the practical side. Krishna knew, that if he went to Vrindavan, then the remaining demons on the surface of the earth were abundant, like the 17 times Jarasandha brought demons in the form of demoniac kings to do battle with. If they knew, and all those kings, et cetera, Shalva, and this one, that one, the other one, if he went directly back to Vrindavan, these demons would know, aha, he has affection for the Brijbasis, so we'll go harass the Brijbasis. He didn't want that. He had to destroy the demons before returning, and that's what he told his father. You go and I'll come soon. Have been away from Vasudeva and Devaki for a long time. They're all our relatives. But he wanted to kill the demon. When he killed who was the final demon that he killed before he returned to Vrindavan? Dantavakra, and Dantavakra's brother. Dantavakra's brother, Viduratha. And it was just outside of Mathura where this happened. And then Krishna changed clothes. He went from his prince to cowherd boy attire and went to Vrindavan. This is in Padma Purana, and our acharyas point to it many, many, many ways in many places. And he spent 2 months with the Brijbasis. So aside from giving them his association, one of his purposes was to send them back to the place from which they came, to their eternal abode in the spiritual world. The demigods, some had taken birth, and some went back to their demigod places. The Nitya Siddha personalities entered into their uppercut lila, and Krishna personally returned to Dwarka to finish up the business in Dwarka. But the Brijbasis he kept his promise. And there was a reason for the delay. It was their protection. Krishna replies to this doubt. Therefore I have said, after making an admission, pratijane, you are dear to me. If the resident of Mathura, having an affectionate mind, does not cheat the one he loves, then what to speak of one he loves the most? I have great affection for he who has great affection for me. I cannot tolerate separation from him. I have already said this with words like Priyohi, Bhagavad Gita 7:17. Therefore, have faith in my words. You will certainly attain me. Okay, so that's 65. And that's Baladev Vijayabhusan's explanation of what Krishna is conveying. So now Arjuna, or any one of us, might wonder, if I surrender to you, am I supposed to still go to the office? Am I still supposed to go to school? Am I still supposed to develop my career? Am I still supposed to do other Vedic processes that are within the Vedas? Or what am I supposed to do? If I'm surrendered to you, what does it look like? Am I supposed to perform meditation or other processes you just mentioned along with my Varna and Ashram duties or without them? Now we know what the Bhagavatam says, right? We discussed this on Sunday, we discussed it again yesterday, and here it is again. Stane statakshutikatam tanavan manobhir means stane statak, you stay in your position, and tanu van manobhir, with body, words, and mind, you engage in Krishna service. You stay in your position, so you don't give those things up. So what's the meaning? Let's go through it. Let's say the verse. Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayashyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of dharma, religion, and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Ma suchaha. Okay, so there's different ideas of what this means. There's some things it doesn't mean. So first, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is going to address what it doesn't mean. What it doesn't mean, for example, is Arjuna is a grahastha, you should stop being grahastha and become a sannyasi. Now there's some commentators that say that, but that's not what our commentators say. Giving up all duties of Varna and Ashram, surrender only unto me. One should not say that parityaja means sannyas, to adopt the sannyas order, because Arjuna was a Kshatriya, not qualified for sannyas. Kshatriyas don't take sannyas. You all know that, right? They may become renounced, but they don't take sannyas. That's just a little Prabhupada story. During some period of time, before there was a BBT, the publication division of ISKCON was ISKCON Press. ISKCON Press was under the umbrella of ISKCON. Later, Prabhupada understood better to have it spun off as a separate entity, because if there was some risk for properties, his intellectual property shouldn't be put at risk. Right? So that's why the BBT was formed, to hold the rights to his intellectual property. But before that, it was ISKCON Press. And ISKCON Press started in Boston. One of the reasons it started in Boston is because somebody that was really good at the editing and typing and this thing and that thing was Satsvarup Maharaj, and he was based in Boston. So ISKCON Press started in Boston. And the first temple I joined was in Boston because it was really such a lively place. I went there for looking at the possibility of graduate schools in Boston, and I visited the temple. That was it. When it came time to, jump in the pool, that was Boston. And then after one summer in Boston, I was a trade. Because Prabhupada wanted a printing press for ISKCON Press. And they bought one. They put it in this, single family residential home, along with the 40 people that lived in there. Was one home. And they had somebody running the press who really didn't know how to run the press. But there was a devotee in New York named Gadadhar Das, and he knew how to run a press. He had actually worked at a printing press. So they arranged he would come to Boston, run the printing press, and I was to trade to New York. But after some time, ISKCON Press moved to New York. So I had all that nice association. And while in New York, when Prabhupada would come to visit, one of the days during his visit, the artists that had their place, some, not too far away, but, their own place, it was just like a warehouse space. But the artists brought their paintings for Prabhupada to inspect. And it was really delightful. I mean, their lives were given to Prabhupada, and here they're offering the fruits of their work, their loving devotion to Prabhupada. And he looks at each painting, and they would comment, and then he would make some remark about something, and, oh, this is very nice, or this something, something, something. So one of the paintings that he looked at was from the first canto, later parts of the first canto, when the Pandavas retire. So the painting showed Yudhishthira Maharaj with a tridanta in his hand, climbing up a mountain, leaving his service and leaving the kingdom in charge of his grandson, Maharaj Parikshit. And Prabhupada looked at the painting and laughed and said that Kshatriyas don't take sannyas. They take vanaprastha, but they don't take sannyas. But he said, it's okay, you can leave it. Because it conveys the idea. It was just fine. So, Krishna is not encouraging Arjuna to take sannyas because Kshatriyas can't take sannyas. Besides, he's a householder. It's not like leave your household duties. As well, it should not be said that the Lord used Arjuna just to instruct all other people who are not Kshatriyas to take sannyas. For Arjuna was qualified to be a recipient of the Lord's instructions, which could not be taught to others. Nor should one explain the meaning of prityaja in this verse as merely give up the results of your activities. That's already, earlier, chapter 3. For there is no harm in giving up all prescribed activities. So this prescribed activities means, the rituals. So we're going to hear some Sanskrit terms that you're maybe not so familiar with, but we'll cover it when we get there. For those who are performers of karma kanda, there's duties. For householders, there's karma kanda duties, and most people don't even know what they are, what to speak of do them. But there's duties, daily duties, and there's occasional duties. So naimatika, every day, and there's occasional. The meaning can indeed be understood correctly by the prefix pati, which means completely, parityaja. So tyaja is to give up, and pati means completely give up. Thus, you should completely give up all prescribed duties. This means the karma kanda ones. Surrender only to me, mam ekam sharanam braja. This means that there should be no worship of devatas, ashtanga yoga, gyan, or dharma, or other elements in that surrender. So pure devotional service. Mam ekam, and no other baggage, no mix, mishra. Karma mishra, Gyan mishra, no mixed. Mam ekam. Previously, I have said that you are not qualified for ananya bhakti. He said that. The highest type of bhakti, and that you were qualified for karma mishra bhakti. When I said, yad karoshi yadasnasi. So that's karma yoga. You with me? The verse, yad karoshi yadasnasi yaj jahosi dadasi yad tapasyashi konteya tat kurasha mad arpanam is karma yoga. Mad arpanam, worshipping Krishna through this, that, the things of this world that you may do, you just offer the result to Krishna. That's karma mishra bhakti, or karma yoga. And Krishna is saying, I told you, you're eligible for that, but you're not yet eligible. But now he is declaring, I'm making you eligible. But now, by my great mercy, you have qualification for Ananya Bhakti. This is to help the reader, a careful reader, understand there's a transition in everything that's transpiring between Krishna and Arjuna. which should be happening between us and Krishna as well. That Ananya Bhakti can only be attained by the causeless mercy of my Ekantika Bhakta. You can get pure devotion through a pure devotee. Though that is a rule I myself have made, I am now giving the mercy myself, breaking my own vow, as I did in the fight with Bhishma. You all know that one. Anyone not know that one? You all know that one, or you're not too shy to say? Okay. Let's do it. Bhishma, his name, Bhishma, changed because previously it was something else. What was his name before? Devarata? And after he took this intense vow, Bhishma, the upholder of great vow. And his vow was he wouldn't get married. And his father was so pleased with him, his father gave him a benediction: you don't have to die unless you choose to die. You have to leave your body unless you choose to leave your body. That could be a blessing, could be a problem also, because most people are attached to their bodies. So Bhishma was known to be an upholder of his vow. So he also took another vow. What was that other vow? The other vow was when Duryodhana came to grandfather Bhishma and saying, you're the general of our army and you're not fighting to your full capacity because you have affection for the Pandavas. Bhishma said, all right, tomorrow I'll kill all 5 Pandavas. He gave his word. Tomorrow I will kill all 5 Pandavas. Here's the 5 arrows, you hold them, give them to me in the morning. When you wake me every morning, because he would come and place his head at his feet. You know the story. So Krishna, being all-knowing, said, we've got to get those arrows. So he had a plan. He's clever, Krishna. What was the Sanskrit word we read this morning that Krishna is clever? Huh? Say it slowly. Chatuha? Chatura. 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 Means? Chatura? Chaturya? Chaturya. Look it up. Means clever. Krishna is clever. So Krishna was clever. He was using his clever acumen by reminding Arjuna. Remember Arjuna? Long ago, Duryodhana gave you a promise. You saved his life from some Gandharva fight. You rescued his life, and he was so indebted to you. He said, take any benediction from me that you like. And you said, later. Remember that, Arjuna? Now it's the time. Ask for the benediction. What's that? Ask for those 5 arrows. He'll know what she means. So Arjuna went that night. Knocked on Duryodhana's tent. Come on in. I came to ask this promise that you made to me some time ago, because Kshatriyas keep their word, even Duryodhana. And you promised you'd give some benediction. I'm asking for the benediction, the 5 arrows, please. So the next morning, when Bhishma, grandfather Bhishma asked, where's those 5 arrows? He said, oh, Arjuna came and asked for them. And I gave him a promise, I had to give them. Oh, that's Krishna's behind this. All right, I've made a vow and Krishna's made me break my vow. I'm going to make Krishna break his vow. The vow is, before the end of the day, with this arrow, I'm going to kill Arjuna, or Krishna will break his vow. So Krishna broke his vow. He protected Arjuna. More important to him than keeping his word. So let's go back. Huh? Spell it.
It's C-A-T-U-R-A.
And this first A is long or short?
It doesn't say anymore, no marking.
So Chatura, not Chatura. You want to check it?
Chatura is the right way of saying. I don't know why it's missing. So, Chaturyam, the right way.
So the way to double check it is from Brahma Samhita. Excuse me, from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, because it's a reference from Nectar of Devotion. So one can look in Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. You know how to you take the assignment, not right now, unless you want to do it right now. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that particular word, how is it spelled? Okay. Huh? Okay, let's see what Rupa Goswami writes, along with Amara Kosha. Probably they're the same. In any case, let's move on. I am now giving the mercy myself, breaking my own vow, as I did in the fight with Bhishma. Krishna broke his vow. So earlier in Bhagavad Gita, he said something, and now he's changing that something. The rule is that only an ekantika bhakta can give pure devotion. It's my rule. I'm breaking the rule, just like he did with Bhishma. I'm giving it to you. And by following my orders, you should not fear some loss on your part in giving up the nitya and naimittika. Nitya is what you do every day, and naimittika, the occasional, obligatory rituals. Obligatory rituals. This is karma kanda rituals. That's the things that it's okay to give it up. That's being spoken in this verse, according to Vishwanath. The order to perform these nitya karmas, or daily obligatory rituals, was given by me in the form of the Vedas. Like, for example, it's in a purport in Bhagavad Gita. Householders are to perform a certain set of rituals every day because they light fire in their home and they're killing living entities, and they sweep the floor and so they're killing living entities, and so they're to do rituals in order to compensate for the fact that just living in their home, they're making some sins. So there's daily rituals that every householder is to do, found in the Vedas, karma kanda rituals. So you don't have to do the karma kanda rituals. You don't have to do the nitya or naimittika rituals, the daily or occasional. Although I gave them, I'm now saying you don't have to do them. Now I'm ordering you to give them all up completely. Is there sin in not performing your nitya karmas? No. Rather the opposite. In performing nitya karmas, you'll commit sin because of disobeying my direct order. Ooh. If someone surrenders to you, he becomes dependent, like an animal purchased for a price. He does whatever you make him do. If you put him in one place, he stays there. If you offer him food, he eats. These are the characteristics of surrender. Now, I decided that there are different ways of covering this topic. I decided, I think it's nice to hear what our acharyas have to say on this topic. And to summarize them, it's a little challenging because it's a little complicated. Here's that same anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam The reference is Vayu Purana. It gives a list of those 6. Surrender, Sharana, Gati, consists of performing these 6 items in relation to the Lord. This is directly from Vishwanath's commentary. Then, starting today, if I surrender to you, I should do whatever you say, whether it's good or bad. If you make me perform dharma, then I will not worry at all. But if you engage me in adharma, since you are the Supreme Lord and can do what you want, then what will happen to me? Please tell me. Vishwanath replies to that question. I will free you from all sinful reactions, from whatever reactions exist, from the far past and recent past, no prarabdha karma, and from whatever reactions arise from acts I will make you perform in the future. This is not impossible for me to do, though it cannot be done by anyone else to whom you surrender. Taking you as the means, I'm giving instruction to the whole world. Do not feel grief for your own welfare or that of others. No, this is like kind of conversational, the way the commentary is being written. Supposing somebody has this doubt, is purvapaksha. Supposing somebody, okay, but and what about this and what about that? May you and all other people, giving up all dharmas, your own and everyone else's, absorbing your thoughts and actions and me, surrendering to me, remain in contentment. I myself have accepted the burden of freeing you from sin and freeing you from samsara. Again, the same. Ananya shintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate te sam yityabhayuktanam yogakshema vaham yaham. But I carry the burden of supply and maintenance to those who desire constant association with me and who, thinking only of me, worship only me. It's nice. I mean, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is giving us a kind of like a 30,000 feet picture of the message of Bhagavad Gita, touching on something over here, touching on something over there, putting the whole picture together. So we get, the big picture of what's the message of Bhagavad Gita. Obviously, the message of Bhagavad Gita is devotional service, because that's what this is, this conclusion. Krishna has already stated it. This is it. This is the summary conclusion. Do not lament, thinking, oh, I've thrown my burden on my master. It is no strain at all for me, who am affectionate to my devotee. Nothing else remains to be instructed. That's the end of his instruction. So that's it. No, just some advertisements here. Bhagavad Gita is a message of love and hope. You've seen this image before, right? Over there is the battlefield, and over on the right side is St. Louis Highway. And then there's something in between, the message of Bhagavad Gita that takes us from, with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge, it's meant to take us on the path to Krishna. And the gift, at least for those who are members of ISKCON, have received that gift very abundantly from our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Look at that smile. Anyone that had association with Prabhupada will say the same thing. When new books came, whatever was going on, everything stopped. He loved the publication. As he inherited that love from his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta, look at that smile. And his servant understands the happiness Prabhupada is feeling. There's Bhagavad Gita printed by Macmillan. And it was a big deal. It's just a little. Macmillan's a big publisher. It was like a break. Some miracles happened again and again. Prabhupada met with one of the biggest publishers in Japan, Dynapan, and a contract was signed right when he was there to print Krishna book. And it was amazing. And the price was a very good price because we didn't have our own facilities for printing, etc. And then, a smaller print run of Bhagavad Gita in the abridged version, and it was sold so fast, Macmillan agreed to publish the whole thing in a hardcap. That's what he's smiling. The hardcover Bhagavad Gita, published by Macmillan, with a big number and a small, amount for each book, because it was such a big number. And they all sold out. And it wasn't just like business. It was giving mercy to people. Because he understood people suffer because they've turned away from Krishna. And when you turn away from Krishna, there's darkness and ignorance. And ignorance is the root cause of all suffering. So he wanted to bring light into this dark age of Kali. And so printing was a major, as is in our disciplic line, as what Vyas did, and the rest of our disciplic line, is give transcendental knowledge. And when there was a lull, then the darkness of Kali grew. And when it was increased, the light of transcendence increased, and the darkness dissipated, for at least for those who received it. So it's very meaningful, spiritually meaningful, very, very satisfying. Look at that smile. Great Acharya, our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. So there we are with Ma Sucah. Let's see if there's some discussion.
Is God real?
What's the question?
Is God real?
Is God
Real.
real? Absolutely. Are you real? So if you're real, where did you come from?
My mom,
And where did she come from?
her grandma,
Okay, so you keep going back and back, and where did she come? The source of everything is a real source.
so God is real?
Of course.
Yes.
As you are real, more real than you are.
Here's
What
my
else you
second-
want to know?
Here's my second question.
Okay.
What's the greatest God?
The greatest God? The Parama Ishwara. Parama Ishwara. Ishwara means God. And Parama.
Also other gods.
Okay, you're asking your question, and I'm giving you an answer. But you're not listening. Parama means supreme. So there are many persons that are Ishwaras, or gods, or controllers of something. But there's one that's the controller of all controllers. That's Parama Ishwara. Just 2 days ago, I heard, let me ask you a question. When Prabhupada uses the term the Supreme Personality of Godhead, why did he add the word head? The Supreme Personality of God head. What's the meaning? Why did he say that? Do you have an idea? You don't know. Would you like to know?
Yes.
Because it's your question. It's your question, just said in a different way. He said there may be many gods or controllers, but one is the head of all gods or controllers. Godhead. That was Prabhupada's explanation. Why he used that term. Amongst controllers or gods who are controlling something, there's one that's the supreme above all. There's the answer to your question. and that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. There's the answer to your question. Okay, she's good for tonight anyway. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Anyone else? Back there by the door?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I'm just trying to understand what is the correlation between the Puranas and Bhagavad Gita. If we look into Puranas into 3 categories, and then further it is divided into 18 Puranas.
Yeah.
So how do I see it? Is Bhagavad Gita originating from Puranas, or the Puranas are subcategorized or born from Bhagavad Gita? So what comes out of that?
Bhagavad Gita is, as you know, Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata is not in the category of Purana, it's in the category of Itihasa. And there's some distinction between Puranas and Itihasas. There's some similarities between Puranas and Itihasas. One of the distinctions about Puranas, about Itihasas or Puranas, Itihasas are chronologically established. Like Ramayana is an Itihasa. Mahabharata is an Itihasa. It's a chronology of something, of history. The Puranas are not chronological. They don't have to be, and they're not chronological. They're quite logical, but not chronological. That's one of the major distinctions. So your question is, the position of Bhagavad Gita, it's in another category. It's the philosophical section, the major philosophical section of an Itihasa, and the Puranas are over here, as you indicated. 18 principle, according to, the 3 modes of nature, 6, 6, and 6. How much is 6 plus 6 plus 6? This young girl in the pink sweater. Yeah. No, you're right next to you. 6 plus 6 plus 6, yes. What's 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals? 6 plus 6 plus 6. $18, right? Okay. She's so absorbed in her friend here, she's forgot her math. So the Puranas, there's one distinction between them. In Bhagavad Gita, the correlation is what your question is. It's the philosophical portion of a history. It's not that there's non-philosophical portions, but it's largely presenting the summary of the whole yoga system of connecting with Krishna because of the circumstance that's created by the rest of the history. Large part of the rest of history is proper conduct, the rules of proper conduct, and the people that don't follow them, people that do follow them, and what does it look like? So put through their historical example, the narration itself, we understand principles of virtue and vice, the opposite. Okay, anyone else? You got one? You got the mic.
So I got 2. So the first one is like when Bhishma's father, when he told him that he gave him the boon to that he gets to like pick when he dies? Did he like pick when to like die in the war? When
Did he, what was the last part? Did he do what?
did he pick to die in the war?
Did he plan to die in the war? That's your question? It was his, he didn't plan to die in the war. He planned to give up his body when it was no longer fit for habitation because it was riddled with arrows. So he chose to, but he chose the moment when his attention could be totally fixed on Krishna. He could see Krishna, his mind was absorbed in Krishna, etc., etc. At the Krishna conscious moment, that's when he chose to leave.
And my second one is like a comment. I wanted to say that I liked the classes a lot, and I learned a lot about Bhagavad Gita. And thank
Good.
you.
Good, good. Thank you. Anybody else? In the back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, we have this. My question is not regarding today's lesson, but it's just in general about karma.
Okay.
And we know that our karmas are not just one lifetime karmas. We have accumulated karmas. So when when one human, one person does atrocities to the inflict other person, and in that sometimes lives are lost. So
And sometimes what a lot?
the life is lost.
Life is lost, okay.
So
Because of
immediately-
their atrocity, right?
Right. So immediately the mind goes like, it must be its previous karmas, and what goes that might have, played a role. But in the so that leads us to, just close our eyes to, okay, that is his karma or her karma that she has to face. But is it the right way of reacting to any atrocity that human being commits?
Nice question. To say, let's take the example of our founder Acharya. He spoke strongly against atrocities. And largely those atrocities he spoke strongly against were Shastra-based. Like, Brahmanas that were by name but not by quality, or Kshatriyas that were rulers but not by quality, or animal killing and cow killing, and those are things, for example, that Prabhupada saw atrocities, and he spoke strongly against it. But my understanding, at least, is the purpose of speaking strongly against it was not simply for condemning. The purpose was for elevating, to have people see there's an alternative to this. So he didn't just condemn bad government. He pointed to what good government is and how to get there and how persons can be trained. Now, he spoke those things in a world of darkness. He knew his audience was in the world of darkness, immersed in bad governance, et cetera, et cetera. You're familiar with these kinds of statements Prabhupada would make, right? When you have, he didn't favor democracy. He spoke strongly against it on principle. Because persons that aren't qualified are electing someone to be ruler, they're going to elect somebody not qualified. So it's not a good system. He spoke against the system, not against the rulers, but the system. And then you have, improper rulers, and then the improper rulers would do improper things. They wouldn't give protection. They wouldn't even know what it means, etc., etc., etc. Or so they really, the social system. He supported it, and it's not being followed, and therefore there's so much trouble. So when there was injustices being done because of ignorance, he would point it out, but point out for the purpose of remove the ignorance and put in knowledge. And who was his audience? People that are in ignorance. So are they able to even understand what he's saying, what to speak of come to the light? Well, that was his mission. So back to your question. He didn't just say, well, it's their karma, it's, kesara asara. That wasn't his attitude. But it was rooted in scripture and presenting light of knowledge. Jnana dipena bhasvata. Needless. It's like, this war against the Ukrainian people. Or, during Prabhupada's time, the needless other wars, the Vietnamese War and other things. He didn't specifically speak against the Vietnamese War. He spoke up against bad government that wouldn't protect people. It would send them to, some needless political advantage, because that's all it was. That's what it was. So, back to your question, what should you do when you see, what should you feel? Should you just feel, okay, it's their karma and then move on? Or should it be something else? Well, it's good to see what's behind. Why is the bad karma there? And what's the alternative to the bad karma? Because it's ignorance. Here's the principle. The root cause of suffering is ignorance. Because when there's ignorance, then there's ignorant activity. When there's ignorant activity, there's ignorant reaction. And when there's ignorant reaction, there's suffering. The root is ignorance. So address the ignorance, not just the atrocity, but the ignorance that behind the atrocity. And bring light, your capacity, at least internally, bring light to that situation. This is because people have lost their connection with light. Therefore, they're in darkness, and therefore doing, ignorant activities. That's the root. Not just the behavior, but the root. And then, to your capacity, you do something. One of the somethings is distribute books. Another something is just become a good bearer of light. Become a little to your capacity, a little acharya. You're giving light just by how you live your life. And there's many other choices. So you make personal choices that are in the direction of light and interacting with people bearing that light. And then you work together with others that are doing the same, and then it gets greater strength than your strength. So those are things that you can do, knowing what's the root cause behind the bad behavior. Yes, it's karma connected, but how to break the karma cycle? Is there anything you can do about that? Yes. Anything collective we can do about that? Yes. It's a big task. There's a lot of ignorance. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of bad activity. What to do? Follow the acharyas and what to do. Bring light in this dark age of Kali. Anybody else? In the front. Here comes the microphone. You like this service? Yeah, good.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I had a question from today's class on the slide where you were showing that Angas of Saranagati, the 6 points.
Okay.
The fourth, I don't know if we can get back to
I
that
can go
slide.
back to it. Yep, I'm just listening.
The fourth point was like accepting Krishna as your master, and the fifth one is like self-surrender, I believe. Is that right, Maharaj?
The way it was listed, Atma Nikshepa or Atma Nivedana, there's both are expressed that way. So full self-surrender. And then humility is the final one, Karpanye.
Yeah, the fifth one was self-surrender.
It's Atma Nikshepa or Atma Nivedana. Yes.
So Maharaj, my question is like fourth and fifth kind of look similar to me. Could you kindly elaborate the differences? I'm understanding like unless you have complete surrender, you can't accept Krishna as your master, is my understanding. But if you can kindly elaborate on that.
They're not. Nice question. They're not buckets. It's the directions. So let's say, without all this, you can't. Without humility, you can't do any of this. So there's overlap. You know what a Venn diagram is?
Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Yes,
So this is like that. There's some overlap. Yes, but the emphasis on Atma Nikshepa or Atma Nivedana is like Bali Maharaj. He is the example of full surrender, everything. Even when he was humiliated or punished for surrendering everything, he didn't complain. So that's the full self-surrender. And then accepting the Lord as my master. It's not, altogether different, but it's that the emphasis is, I have one master. I don't have multiple masters. I have one master. And if I serve that master and please that master, that's everything I need. Like this little example he was saying about the different senses and engaging all the senses in the master of the senses. So that's that one. It's not totally distinct, but it's a different emphasis upon this one, different emphasis upon that one. Is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, I have two questions. The first one is, I may missed it. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said the essence of Bhagavad Gita is 8 verses out of, Krishna.
Yeah,
out
I
of
didn't
mercy.
catch it either because I only took 3 of those 8 verses.
Today's section.
So I don't have the answer to that question. I'd have to go back and look. Right now, I don't have the answer to that question.
And the next question is, Maharaj, I really like the point of the Ananya Bhakti can be given only by Ekantika Bhakta.
Yeah.
It was very nice. So it's just a general question that attending all the sessions is very inspiring to go back and read the Bhagavad Gita again. But my question is, could you please kindly give us a message on the mood of studying Bhagavad Gita and the commitment?
It's simple. I mean, it can be refined and detailed, but even the refined and detailed, it's still simple. The simple is, there's a supreme authority, that's Krishna. And Krishna is speaking. Knowingly, he's speaking not just to Arjuna, he's speaking to us. But he's having Arjuna become bewildered so he can instruct us through instructing Arjuna. And so that's how to read. Krishna wants us to come to that same conclusion. Mam ekam sharanam. He wants, and there's the array of things that will help us get there, and that's what Bhagavad Gita is. So it's Krishna's reaching out to us through sound. Bhakshami, Tachanu, through sound, he's reaching out to us. And the way to read Bhagavad Gita is hear that sound within that mood. Krishna's kindness is coming. He wants us to be with him and not to be in this dark place. So let me hear with that mood. It's, in other words, it's hear more with the heart than with the head. No, we don't cut our head, but hear more with the heart. And then the head can understand more than without the heart being filled. Something else? I think we're done. In the back. Oh.
Maharaj, when Krishna was thinking about those kings, versus when Lord Parshuram was thinking about those kings in a
Which things?
the kings.
The kings.
Yeah. When Lord Parshuram, he delivered all those kings.
Yeah, he sure did.
From an external point of view, it seems that they're two opposite ends of the thing, but from Krishna's point of view, isn't it the same thing?
Do you understand the question?
He's asking Krishna tried to help the kings when he came as Krishna, but Parasurama did the opposite thing of killing 21.
Well, why was Parashuram doing that, and what was the consequence of his doing that? Because there are innocent people who are being harmed, or worse than harmed, by bad kings. When people are bad, it's one thing. When rulers are bad, it's another thing, it's another level. So he was ridding the earth from those persons who would bring harm to innocent people. And, what was the destination of those people after they were killed by Parshuram? Now, minimally, this is a detail. When Krishna killed, because Krishna was also advocating the Kurukshetra battle, and it was a really big number. I was hearing lectures, Prabhupada was fishing for that number. It's a big number. So many persons were killed. Bad. But those on the battlefield at least were liberated. Those who were killed by Parshuram, they were freed 100% from their sinful reactions, for all their bad things. Citizens were protected from more bad things, and those persons were freed from the reactions of those bad things. The slate is clean. That's good. If any one of us can get our slate made clean, that's good. That's what's being described here also. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.